Welcome to DPX-AI. I am Larry Vogel, and I will be your host tonight. Let's get started. We'll go ahead and get started on our December 28th, which makes it our last meeting of 2023. So like you said, Osea, the year is expiring, and we've got 2024 coming up. So anybody have exciting stuff scheduled for 2024, or is everybody just kind of winging it like we did last year?
Sorry, I resent that other one again.
Okay, I'll look for it.
It came in.
Yeah, I see it. Nope, that's the try again one. I haven't seen it yet, so I'll look for it. All right.
It says AI junk on it.
All right. So again, we're still kind of feeling this out, the AI meetings, and I don't know, somebody actually pitched an idea at one of the other meetings that I think will be a cool idea, and if more people show up, we'll re-announce it. But I think, and we can kind of work on it all together, an idea of sort of like, I don't know, we'll call it an assignment, but coming up with an idea for each month for people to create an idea for an image. So I don't know, whatever you want to call it, horseback on a sand dune or whatever, to come up with a concept and then have everybody generate an image for the next month and see what everybody comes up with. So whether you're using Photoshop or Dolly or Midjourney or whatever program you're comfortable with, where you want to maybe prompt, and the idea would be not to just maybe generate an image straight through the prompt, but do things where you might combine it together with your own photograph, or you could definitely do it, as just a straightforward prompt and maybe 2 or 3 images, But yeah, to work on sort of a similar idea and see what everybody comes up with. I think that would be fun. So we'll, as the meeting goes on, we'll bring it up again and kind of have everybody sort of pitch some ideas for, you have to necessarily give us a prompt, but just an idea. Like it was Beverly Brock who had suggested it at one of the other meetings, and the comment was wouldn't it be interesting to see what AI would do to create a concept of God? What would God look like to AI? So that was sort of the idea. But yeah, we'll don't know if I necessarily want to play with that, but we can think about maybe give everybody some time to think about that. I don't know whose thing is making a lot of background noise here. Maybe it's Kaz. It is. All right, so getting started on some announcements. So again, I'm doing 2 DPX meetings every month. The regular one is on the second Thursday every month. So the regular DPX meeting, more photos or strictly photo related, I would say. Still, you could use AI and Photoshop and stuff if you're doing that. It's a separate meetup group, so if you're interested, you can go to the meetup pages and sign up there, join the group, and then you'll get the announcements for the meetings. We use a different link or a different code for that meeting, so you'd have to go there to find that one. So second Thursdays, regular DPX meeting, and then always on the last Thursday, the DPX-AI meeting. All the meetings are recorded, and I post them up on my YouTube channel. So if you've missed a meeting and you want to go back and revisit something, or if you were there and you want to revisit a technique that we maybe explored, you can find those on my channel, and there's a specific group of them all for DPX-AI and DPX meetings. And we actually hung the show, our From Real to Surreal, at the 2020 gallery. The show is up. We had our opening already, was on December 19th. The show runs through March 8th, and the next show we have already put together an idea for it. I'll share that with you in a minute. The Pismo Beach workshop still has spaces available if anybody's interested in going there. The information is on my website, and I think that's everything I have there. On the, where did I put it? Right here. So our 2020 gallery, for those of you that don't know, so Rob Pendleton, who is the, I was going to say eye doctor. He's the ophthalmologist there. He is, I always get that confused. Ophthalmologist slash optometrist, which is which, who is who? Optometrist? Ophthalmologist.
He's ophthalmologist.
The ophthalmologist, because he can do surgery. Okay, so anyhow, he has his own office space there that he has. When he built the space out, he included sort of gallery space on the walls to do shows. He's been doing shows there for years, and the last year or so, we've been helping him out by doing the shows there and promoting them. They're all photo related. I haven't completely put together the whole prospectus yet for the show, but this is sort of a working idea that we're calling AI OK, the lens versus the machine, a dialogue in pixels. Thanks to ChatGPT, it kind of always helps me write some of this stuff. So I feed it my basic idea, then it brings me back some other things and sort of back and forth and come up with some ideas. So anyhow, the fun thing about this one is it can really be anything as far as a photograph, or it can be images that are completely created by AI, or you can be doing a combination of any of that pulled together. I'll be putting the prospectus isn't up online yet, but we do them through online juried shows, and when it's ready to go, I will send it out to the entire group with all the links to get to into the online juried show site, and the whole prospectus will be posted online there, so you'll be able to read it. And I think I forget, I don't have it in front of me, but we're going to try to, it'll be hopefully live the first part of January, and it'll give you about a month to submit images through online juried shows. And then we review those, we select the images. We can hang about 30 images in the show. So we jury the show and find 30 images. So again, we're going to be looking for kind of some straight photography and some AI stuff to hang together. And I thought it'd be kind of fun too. We haven't worked this out yet, but some way to invite the people who come to the show and who view the show to maybe think about maybe trying to decide if you can figure out if something is AI or if the image has been generated by a camera, or maybe a combination of the two. So that's the next show that'll be coming up at the 2020 gallery. So look for that announcement. Like I said, it'll come out to all of the all of my meetup group, both DPX groups. Hello, Arpad, welcome.
Hey, buddy, how are you? Happy New Year.
Good, yeah. Almost. We're almost there.
Yeah.
All right, so that's kind of my announcements. Does anybody have anything exciting going on that you want to share with the group tonight? The deafening silence says...
I'd like to go back to a minute, or stay for a minute on the 2020 question.
Okay.
And this has come up in your other DPX effort, and that is that a lot of the editing that Photoshop is moving in the direction of is AI-enabled editing.
Yep.
And so that's kind of a crossover between straight photography editing that we've been used to in the past and we've accepted that we've been able to do, but there's this new AI-enabled editing quality that's coming in that's really pretty helpful.
Yeah.
And is that a crossover that can be used for the show that you've got coming up?
Yeah, so interesting for us anyhow, or and a lot of people already know my rant on juried shows and rules and things you can and can't do to your photographs. When Rob and I had talked about doing all the shows there, we decided that the only stipulation that we would have is that they would need to be photo-based work, because he wants the 2020 gallery. I mean, basically, he has only shown photography there in one form or another. That being said, actually, in between the next two shows, he's going to do a painting show also. So, but the idea for us was like there really aren't any rules for submitting work to the show. We only come up with titles and guidelines as a way of kind of providing or provoking people to think about an idea that maybe they hadn't thought about. So like the show that's up there now is From Real to Surreal, which actually got a lot of a lot of people submitted work for that show, and a lot of people said, well, new people that hadn't submitted before said that the idea of the show is what inspired them to go ahead and submit the work. And we ended up with, I would say, a good bunch of more experimental work that was not only maybe experimental in technique, but also in presentation. So there was kind of both sides of it. So yeah, we're not really making any stipulation between whether you have used AI on what we might, we call a straight photograph or used it or not. That's again one of my rants about the whole thing is trying to separate the two is going to become nearly impossible because of all of the editing techniques that are being a part of Photoshop now. I think it'd be a shame to tell photographers that if you've used a tool that generates new pixels in your image, that you can't submit those into a show. And we're really kind of in limbo at this point, waiting for juried shows, county fairs, all of those gallery places that are doing these juried shows. The thing I said before is you really can't just say the words no AI, because then it raises that question like, okay, well, I used an AI retouching tool inside Photoshop. Does that mean I can't submit this image? And so, that now is going to be up to them to clarify what they're talking about. But as far as all the shows go at 2020 Gallery that I will be involved in, there's not going to be any stipulation about any of that. You can do whatever you want. They're your photographs. Do whatever you want to them. So that's my thought on it. Does that answer the question, I guess, or raise more? Kurt Lightfoot.
Well, I kind of think so, because you're right. We can always just do whatever we want and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
You get out. But I know that I'm finding the AI-enabled editing tools in Photoshop, et cetera, to be extremely good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, better than the non-AI-enabled tools that it's replacing. The heal function is incredible, but we use that a lot, right? So,
right.
And even the all the photo merge stuff where you take like I've taken recently 15 photographs from my drone and merged them in an HDR panoramic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's clear that Photoshop is making decisions, is finding the horizon and making the horizon straight. And then warping the entire world around that decision.
Right. Yep.
Wow. I like that. That's what I wanted to do, but it's not something I'm doing. It's something it's doing with its own brain, right? So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, there's this whole. Can you turn all that off and say, okay, I want to do it all manually myself? I mean, I guess you don't have to run it through those lens corrections and things that go along with it.
That would be impossible.
Yeah. So, and those are that kind of goes back to some of the questions too, or the comments that you hear a lot of people make, is that, that some of this new technology, they like to label it cheating, and it's like, but it's technology, and virtually by being able to point a machine at a scene and push a button and record an image, whether it's on film or a sensor, then to a painter, that's cheating, because you're making an image using a machine. I don't really care. It's all about, it's all about the image in the end, and really the only people who really care or really interested in how you created the image is people like us who are online talking about making images. Once it's hung on a wall in a gallery or in a museum, people might be vaguely intrigued by how you did this, but the idea that we want to qualify or disqualify it as cheating or not cheating, is it a photograph, not a photograph, is it a painting, what is it? It's another way of creating images, and so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I understand completely the conundrum from your point of view, that the machine is, if I'm using any auto features, in whether it's Photoshop or Lightroom or Camera Raw or any of those. Those are all doing some thinking for you. I mean, you still become the editor of the image because you have to decide if you like it or not.
Right. Or if it works for your purpose, yeah.
Right. I don't know.
So it sounds to me like what I'm talking about fits with your show idea. So
The answer is yes, it would. I can't think of anything that would disqualify an image from the show. I mean, that's really been sort of the effort, is to not generate a bunch of rules so that we then have to qualify things as far as that this doesn't work or that doesn't work. I mean, there's the one lady who has images in the show this time that has a lot of stuff on the surface of the photograph that she's painted using a gel medium, and she's done all kinds of things to alter the thing where it almost doesn't even resemble a photograph at this point. But I think both Rob and I are intrigued and enthused by the experimentation. So whatever you're doing, RPAD, you've submitted some images that had, I don't know who's echoing here. You submitted some images with the encaustic wax over the top of your photographs. And so those are starting to sort of verge on a painting / photograph, but they were accepted for the show because it kind of lies in there on the idea of doing photo based artwork. So
Yeah, that was encaustic.
yeah,
That had a photograph embedded into the wax. So,
yeah.
I was going to ask you a question. Have you found a word that, because in my mind, we need a new word, or the technology will create a new word that discusses or labels the distinction between photograph and computer-aided imagery. Have you found any word that's buzzing around that's common?
Yeah, one that's kind of kicked around a lot about when something is AI generated, they're calling it synthetic photography. So the idea that
synthetic. Huh?
Yeah, and I think the reason for it is because you can make something through artificial intelligence that resembles more of a painting, but when every effort has been made to make it look like a photograph, that's kind of where the confusion comes in. It's like, okay, so is it a photograph? It's not a photograph, and so, but it looks like a photograph. I always think of that saying, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's not a photograph. I don't know at this point. So, when I did my presentation on the AI, the comment that I had about it was that exactly what you're asking is that as new technology comes along, we create new words and a new vocabulary to talk about those things. And, we never had the Ansel Adams in his interview that he did before he passed away. He used the term electronic image because digital was not a common, vocabulary word to discuss photography. But now it's become pretty much clearly digital photograph or digital photography has almost become a distinction in itself, and it almost has eliminated the use of making even a separation between, is this a photograph or is it a digital photograph, right? That has kind of disappeared. And, I kind of suspect that some of the questions that we have about what's being created, what is it? But I agree, I think we have to have a language to talk about it. You can't go, well, it's an image. So everything is an image if we're looking at it.
It's like my stuff that I did is clearly not a traditional photograph,
right?
But it's more other things, So if I were entering that into a show, I might have to call it mixed media.
Right. I was going to say, that's what I was going to suggest. That's the thing that you see a lot with people who are taking photographs and painting on them or using wax on them like you, or doing screwing and gluing things to the surface of a photograph. that eventually it becomes kind of a mixed media piece, which really kind of encompasses just about anything you can think of. So I don't know. Yeah,
So what about pure photography?
there you go. That's what we'll call it. Yeah, I don't know. There's that sort of is would it now? Well, it's like you can't even call it traditional photography realistically, because like in my presentation, the one guy who works for the Getty as a photo conservator, he said, the things that we're calling photographs today would never have been considered a photograph when I first started on doing the conservatorship for the Getty. And he said, such as an inkjet print. That thing has never been a light sensitive piece of material. It's a piece of paper with ink and dots on it. And he said that would never have been called a photograph. In fact, it wouldn't even be in my wheelhouse of how to conserve, to revive maybe an image that was printed using inkjet. He says back then it would have been considered lithography or some other medium. But he says now it's clearly accepted that an inkjet print is a photograph. And so those are examples of things that have become common, but in terms of having a term for what we would call it. They would still maybe call it an inkjet print if you wanted to make a distinction between it and still a chromogenic print or a silver print or those sort of things. And so there's always been those sort of divisions about how is the piece, what is it made of. So yeah, I don't know. What is a traditional photograph? What would be considered a traditional photograph these days? I don't know. It's like
it changes every year. You have to date or put the timestamp everything you publish.
There you go. So
because there's been, like the N2020 was the first, autofocus, auto everything. It had six AAAs and it shot film.
Mm-hmm.
The Nikon N2020. Yeah. So is that real photography, or is that your assisted photography?
Yeah, and
back in 1986, 85, I remember I bought one.
Yeah. Well, my first digital camera was a 3 megapixel camera, which was like by today's standards.
Mine was a 0.8 megapixel
0.8,
camera.
there you go. Was it shooting on a floppy disk?
That was a DC.
Oh yeah,
Kodak DC-50.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The Mavica.
Those kind of cameras, you walked around and you were kind of embarrassed because everybody looked at you. You fake.
Right.
You're not a real photographer.
But so yeah, that
you show up at parades.
But there's a question. I think the real question here too is if I'm producing work, and no matter what I'm doing to produce the work, to me, I personally, I don't care how I'm making the work. It only matters when I walk out and hang it up before the public, enter it into a show, becomes part of a collection. Then we need to identify and define what it is. But if that piece never leaves my studio, then do I really have to define what it is? Because to me, I don't have to have a name for it. I would call it art, and yes, art is sort of this big, gigantic, encompassing label that we can give to just about anything. But
right, you're the content creator. Yeah,
right.
And do you get
artist?
Go ahead, Kaz.
And do you get extra credit if you use low-tech tools?
If you do it the hard way, yeah. Well,
yeah. I used Windows Paint on this, so I should get extra credit.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that was kind of one comment that was made years ago when we were switching from analog to digital. There were people that were still like, okay, that's not photography. I'm going to keep producing analog work in the darkroom. And then it became apparent right away that, again, this kind of comes back to the idea of competitive arts. As soon as we create a competition, then there becomes this need or this desire to create what they think is a level playing field. So the comment was made, from the darkroom workers, well, but those people using Photoshop, that's not fair. You know, what they're doing, I can't do in the darkroom what they're doing in Photoshop. I go, but it's still a level playing field because that technology is available for you to use. You've just decided not to use it. So why would we want to deny everybody else the ability to pull forward and progress only because there's a group of people that don't want to? So there are people today that are still making platinum and palladium prints, and you know, I would hate to think that their discussion is that, you know, well, we should all still be using a process that's 200 years old, but you know, what's the point of that? So I don't know. It's creativity is creativity no matter what you're using. So yeah, to answer Kurt's question, yeah, you can submit any. Again, it can be your interpretation because what is photo-based art? I'm open to anything personally. So anyhow, that's the crux of the next show is going to be the lens versus the machine, and it could be a combination of, you know, photography, AI generated work. I just think it'll be an interesting show. So look for that information. I'll mention it again because a couple of new people have dropped in. Is that one idea that was brought up for the group was to maybe come up with, by say the end of the meeting, an idea for everybody to kind of work on a common theme, whatever it would be. I'll just give an example because I did it this month for my Christmas, my holiday card. So I generated an image inside Midjourney, and came up with this, you know, weird little Christmas tree. And the interesting thing about this too was, I don't have the other image with me, but I actually used I generated some Christmas trees, different kinds of trees inside Midjourney, and then I ended up taking the Midjourney Christmas trees, and then I took one of my black and white photographs and brought them in and blended those two images together inside of Midjourney. And so the background black and white was a winter black and white image of one of my photographs. It had a bridge in it, so this is an interesting interpretation of the bridge. But it ended up taking my Midjourney tree and mixing it together with my black and white landscape photograph and created this new version of the tree. I took out some of the. Let's see. I actually don't have the other one in here yet. I don't have it here. But I ended up taking back some of the saturation, took the color out. I thought the colors were like over the top. And then for some of you that know, I've been working on this series of work where I'm using this robed figure or different robed figures. So I put him into the scene. And so it's a composite of my original black and white snow photograph combined together with a Midjourney Christmas tree, and then this image of the robed figure that I created quite a while ago in Midjourney, and then have added this symbol to the back of the robe, which was also created by Midjourney. So now it becomes this sort of composited thing, and it kind of goes back to talk about this idea then. So now what is it? I mean, it began with a photograph. It became composited with, you know, other images. To me, it's like this would still qualify under my view of going into the show that we're working on. It's still photo-based image. It's also, even if it was 100% AI, it wouldn't really matter. And then because I wanted to use it as a I call it a holiday card instead of a Christmas card. We're trying to be politically correct, I guess. So I wanted to add some words to it. And so the words I put in the bottom here actually sort of began from a bit of an off kind of base scripture reference to using the word darkly, which a friend of mine, or a guy that I had met years ago, had sent me a project that he was working on. It was called Through the Glass Darkly. And I was like, wow, where did that come from? It's such an interesting phrase. And it turns out that there is a scripture in the Bible that references the darkly and the light and all this other stuff. So anyhow, I love the idea of the word. So I came up with the in the forest darkly, and I asked ChatGPT, I said write a haiku poem, and I don't know if I really ended up with the haiku poem. I think I did use the whole one that they put in, but anyhow, with the theme in a forest darkly, and it created several variations on it. And then the one down that I think I ended up using was write short words of wisdom about searching in the forest darkly, and so it actually ended up creating this little, we'll call it a poem at the end that I put on the bottom of it. So I love this whole idea of that AI is not necessarily completely creating images, that we can also use words, and sometimes these words, a lot of people are using ChatGPT to help create prompts that also then go back into Midjourney or Dolly or any place you want to build images from. So to me, there's some really cool things that are kind of happening where all of this, I mean, kind of like RPAD's thing, mixed media, right? So things become sort of this mixed media thing where photographs are being blended together with AI images, and prompts are being built from an AI, Chat GPT, and it's like, where is the end? Where's the point of this? Where is this all going? I guess is the great question, and who knows? I think more and more creative people who get their hands on these tools, it's going to be amazing to see what comes out of it. So, any comments?
I thought this was a really successful image.
No, thanks.
I think throwing in hope was a really nice touch.
Yeah, I saw your your Facebook post. I had about 30 things I was going to do, and then I'd go, no, okay, I'll just like your post.
Hey, Larry.
Yeah.
You're the guy that brought up you were doing this as a symbol of hope or something at some point.
My comment was that the symbol on the back here, I asked AI to generate a symbol that means hope, and of course you always get 4 variations on it, and this was the one that I selected that I liked. And when I did some research on symbols for hope, the butterfly is one of the ones for hope. And so I kind of assumed that maybe this symmetry that it created in this particular symbol might have been based on that. I mean, I don't, how do you think like the machine? I don't know, where it derived these symbols from. I've mentioned before that I've tried to do some reverse engine image searching, and it never finds anything that I've ever created with the AI. So they're entirely unique in that sense, that I don't think that I could find that symbol didn't exist anywhere else before that. But yeah, Kirk's baiting me to try to share my hope secret, but I'm not. Yeah.
So if you wanted to post something to the whole internet, how do people do that?
So there's if you go into in fact, if you just go into Google, and let me see if I can go, because I always forget because I don't do it all the time. Reverse image search. So here's a bunch of places that do it. So this 10i I've used before. So like in here, all you have to do is upload or paste the image URL in here, and then it will do a reverse image search in here, and it will show you the results. Or it'll say, what I found before was, it says, we searched 6 billion images and could not find one that matched your image. And when I did my presentation online, go ahead.
But say you wanted to post that image and that message to the whole world.
Oh, how do
without going on TikTok.
Oh, I don't know that there's one place you can post to the whole world. I think on the World Wide Web. that would be.
Yeah, so you just post it to that?
Well, yeah. So there would be you have.
Well, people used to.
You have to host the image somewhere. It has to be hosted somewhere. So that would be the question. Where would you put it to host it? And then that's what comes down to. Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, your website,
a blog.
Oh, anything that says it's for the public.
Jeez. Let me silence that. So say again, anything for the public?
yeah, I mean, well, like back when the internet was first invented,
Yeah.
people would say, "Oh yeah, I posted a picture, and now it's everybody has it."
Well, but
But maybe it doesn't work that way anymore.
yeah, no, nobody there. I don't think there's any way that there's, unless I'm not familiar. But that is sort of the premise behind putting an image anywhere on the internet is definitely can be accessed by anybody in the world, but they would have to know where it's posted. So,
Well, like for instance, um I researched a certain poem that I heard as a child,
mhm.
and it came up with a whole bunch of that same poem, but the words were different.
Mhm.
So I would like to post my version that I heard growing up.
Well,
But where would I post it?
yeah, well, so the same thing is like when you do that, so that same idea, let's just see it. So I mean, again, if we pull up Google, anytime if I were to put in a poem, so whatever, well, even if I put in something simple like Twinkle Twinkle, right, so it comes up. I can click on it here, and it's going to show me all the places where I'm going to be able to find that. But I don't know that there's one place where I'm going to find it. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star poem, Poetry Foundation. So it's been posted by a lot of people. Wikipedia. So there you go. You could post it on Wikipedia, I guess.
Well, like, is there Wikipedia? Yeah.
But it would
But-
have to be posted.
Yeah, I often type in that I want to know the lyrics to some song,
Right,
and they magically show up, but I'm not sure where they're being hosted.
Well, it would tell you. So I mean, that's basically what comes up in the search bar. There is like I don't know where this came from. Born to Run. So if I go Born to Run lyrics, so here it is here lyrics. So like right here, the question is songwriter Born to Run lyrics. So this is source Lyric Find. So who is Lyric Find? Welcome to Lyric Find's global community. So lyrics.lyricfind.com. Everything will be associated to an address somewhere on the web. I just don't know that there's one place where you could do that. Yeah, unless anybody knows of another place where that exists. One spot to find everything. That would be amazing. I mean, that's really the whole thing behind trying to market on the internet is like, I can put up a website, but who's going to find it? Probably hardly anybody. So how do you get people to go to that particular address? And that becomes the whole marketing conundrum that everybody's chasing. Million websites. How do I get them
Well,
to
it's
look
going to
at
be
mine?
my next AI project, so
All right.
if I ever get to it,
All right.
yeah, post it.
So the only other person that sent me anything to look at tonight, or at first before we move on, so any questions or comments about, this idea of, again, using Chat GPT to do things, or the idea of doing sort of multi-compositing with your own photographs. I guess the one question is how many people who are here tonight are using some kind of standalone program for creating AI images? So other than, say, Photoshop, anybody using things like Midjourney, Dolly? I know Kaz does.
When you say standalone, I guess maybe I didn't download anything. Everything's going through Discord.
Right. Yeah. No, I guess, standalone wouldn't be the idea. I was just thinking of something outside of Photoshop, because a lot of people have access to.
Because there is programs that you download. I mean, like GANs.
Right.
Are separate. They're not. They're a separate program.
I guess what I meant to say was a dedicated program for creating AI images. So like.
What would we use? Like GIMP? GIMP, or you said Jolly is
Dolly. So Dolly.
I'm neutral.
So there's some that are free.
Dolly?
Yeah. So like Salvador Dali.
Okay.
So there's some.
It's spelled different.
Yeah,
though.
it's spelled different, but that's what they're playing off of. Stable diffusion.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of free ones out there. There's Midjourney's is a subscription-based program. If you're using Photoshop, if you have a subscription to Photoshop, then you can get into Firefly, which is the Adobe version of it. That's free to use also. So any of those type of programs where you can generate images from a prompt. I had showed this before. So
Hey, Larry.
yeah.
I mean, I've used Bard, which is
Uh-huh.
Google's
Yeah.
AI version to generate images, and they're pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd probably start with that
Yeah.
since I live in Mountain View anyway.
So if you're using Photoshop, I mean, you can access Firefly, or in this case, I can generate just an empty pixel document at 1024 by 1024, and then to do prompt directly from inside Photoshop, I would need to make a selection of the entire blank document, hit the generative fill, and then I could add in a prompt here, and I don't know, let's say we should running
Generative fill.
yeah,
Okay.
so that's a new function inside Photoshop. We'll say running bears and stream, or I don't know, and then we say generate. So what it will do is this is accessing Photoshop's AI function to create an entire image from scratch. So you don't have to actually have an image in here to even begin the process. So there it is. So there's your running bears in a stream. There's a misinterpretation of the plural word bears. So a running bear in a stream, and there is a drastically cropped bear in a stream. So, and again, interesting. I mean, if you've played in here enough, so I mean, there's ways that you can fill in this. So if I use generative expand, I can take the crop tool, and I will extend that out there, and I will just hit the generate, and it should fill in that space. And each time you do that, you'll end up with 3 variations of information that it's going to put there. So even when it creates a crop version, you can still use the same functions. So there's the rest of the bear. So, and there's 3 versions of it. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And if you don't like any of those, you can just say generate again, and it will do it again. And so I can do the same crop version on the back end here, and you can just keep expanding and going to town, keep building the image. But so the idea is, again, so you can do this directly in Photoshop without working in, say, another program like Midjourney. However, I would say Midjourney is a little more sophisticated than this. His back leg looks a little funky. Well, there you go. So anyhow, that's the idea behind this. You can just keep building it. You could also then Photoshop would allow you to say, let's make a selection here, and we'll use generative fill, and I'll just put a generic bird in there and say generate. So it'll generate an object inside of that fill space here. And again, it will do 3 of them, and you can pick which one you like, or generate a new one, or come up with a more specific prompt to put in there. So there's a bird, a flying bird. They're all blurry birds, so I might want to do another one. So, but yeah, you get the idea. You can keep generating pieces of the image. Let's go here, and we'll put in salmon. Generative fill. Salmon.
Hey, Larry?
Yeah.
In that generative fill layer,
Mhm.
how do you edit into it and use all the other tools?
So,
Do you have to flatten it
Yeah.
or something?
so let's say like, okay, there's a salmon there. There's a salmon. Okay, that looks not bad. All right, let's go with that one. So since you have, again, 3 images, or I could just say, okay, I don't like those, let's try it again. So it'll generate 3 more, and you can do as many as you want. So once you get the image that you want, then So when it gets done, I'll do this. I'll just throw my bird one away because it doesn't look that great. Um, there's that one. There's that one. All right, I like this one better, so we'll go with that one. All right, so I've got 6 of those there now, and it does increase the file size because it's new pixels. So, and you'll notice on the actual image where it's generated the salmon, you'll see this little star thing down here, which is the symbol they're using for generative fill or generative layer. If you look up here in the property panel, it says generative layer. So if I right click on that, I can say, just like it's as if it was a smart object, I can tell it to, here it is, rasterize the layer. And when I rasterize the layer, then all of those other options go away. It just now becomes an image layer that has a mask on it also. So that mask just narrows down the object itself. So if we look at the mask, there's the mask. And if I turn the mask off, and turn the images off, you'll see that it actually has a shape to it, but the mask itself is kind of taken just the fish area there. So you can apply the mask. I can also, at this point, I can just take the bird layer, throw it away, and eventually what you really want to do, and then these layers that are down here, same thing, because it generated extra ones. I can rasterize those, or the easiest thing to do is I don't have to rasterize them. I can select, let me turn them all back on again. I can select those layers, so I'll select the salmon, the generative fill on the right side, the generative fill on the left side, and the bears actually, so I can take those and I could just say merge layers. And then all of that just becomes one image layer that I can then just treat as if it was a regular image. So the thing about retouching, so like if I was going to retouch that salmon before it was merged down, you could end up with problems. Like if I wanted to darken a layer or darken the fish or do something, it would stand out then because you're darkening all the pixels around the fish itself. But at this point, it's just an image layer like any other Photoshop. And you could start applying, any adjustment layers, any retouching. If you wanted to retouch something in the image, you could retouch using those retouching tools. So, I mean, pretty incredible that you can actually, there was recently, somebody just sent me something the other day, an article, might have been in the New York Times, that said, with and it's funny that this gets thrown around, over several centuries, different versions of it. But with the advent of AI generative images, is photography dead? And this was the funny thing in itself. When photography came around, the comment was asked, is painting dead? And, the answer to all of them is the same. It's like, no, people will continue to paint, people will continue to make photographs, and people will continue to generate images such as this. But this is kind of, again, this is the question, is like, well, I'm a photographer and I like to photograph bears, and I got to travel all the way to Alaska or whatever and go on this trip and hunt down the bears at the right time of year that there's salmon swimming in the stream. And, I had to do all this to get the photograph, and you just put some prompts in here. Those are valid questions and concerns, so, is it any more or less valid as an image because I didn't have to trek out, into the middle of Alaska to generate a bear in a stream with a salmon? Those are the things that everybody's starting to deal with, and it's not just photography. People are creating music using artificial intelligence, and so you don't even know how to play an instrument, and you're asking it how to create songs for you, and everybody likes to criticize it and about how crappy the results are, but think about, this thing has only been in Photoshop right now for less than a year, and it's already doing this. And if you think about what Photoshop looked like 20 versions ago, the things that we're doing today are like way advanced compared to where we started from. So
Yeah, like the new John Lennon album's coming out, a new Beatles album's coming out.
yeah, they introduced
And
they did a new what they would consider the last Beatles song. Yeah, that they put together a John Lennon demo, and some of the other Beatles performed on it, and so yeah, it's I don't know, it's I don't know. I like to avoid being in on that sort of bandwagon of trying to figure out, what is it? Is it valid? Is it not valid? If it's good, it's good. And as it turns out, the basic public doesn't really care how it was created. There are people that are posting, AI generated songs on YouTube, and some people appear to be loving it, and they like it, or they like the song, or they don't like the song. They don't care how you made it. They might even find it more interesting, again, if the technology is an AI based technology. But I don't. I think it becomes, I don't want to say a foolish game to try to become, the sort of you're going to become a deciding factor in the world of whether this is a valid. You have to call it a photograph if you don't want to. Again, the guy that I was watching online would call this a synthetic photograph. Because what else would you call it? I mean, it definitely resembles a photograph. Doesn't look like a painting. I could turn it into a painting from here if I wanted to. But, it's for all intents and purposes, it looks like a photograph. So I don't know. Synthetic photography, I guess, is a reasonable approach to it. I don't know. Any comments from anybody else?
Mixed tech.
It's what?
Can I still send you something
Yeah.
like a photo?
Yeah.
See if I could do that.
So if you have a subscription to Photoshop, the Creative Cloud, then you also have access to Adobe Firefly, which is their sort of standalone program that does a lot of different things in the program here. But the text to image generator is here, and basically works the same way that you describe, what you want in here. So again, we can do the same prompt, say bear running in the stream, and we'll say generate. And there's a bunch of default settings at this point. So it's going to generate 4 images here. And by default, it does a 1-to-1 ratio. But once it generates so here's their bear version of it. So I can say, well, let's change it from square to a landscape image. And so we get now a more horizontal. So I have to hit generate again. And it will now regenerate the bear running in a stream in a 4:3 landscape. I can also select what content type I want. So there's more of a horizontal. I could actually even go to the wider screen one, like I had maybe in Photoshop. And so I can go widescreen. I'll make sure, so photo is checked here. I can go down here to match, and I can put in a reference image. So if I had an image of a particular kind of bear, I could drop that in there, and it would use that to match a style from. Then there's effects down here that I can come to. So this bokeh effect, and as I check on those, they actually end up adding these extra. I don't have to type them in; they just show up down here at the bottom. So I can say bokeh effect, hyper realistic, color and tone. We can go with a golden hour sort of a thing. Yeah.
Question, Larry,
Yeah.
on this program, are you able to put in your own size, or do you have to select from options?
Good question. I don't use this that much. Widescreen square format. I don't know. Anybody know? Do they use this? I always assumed that you had to pick something they had here.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing, was picking that widescreen. But
Yeah, but then
but
again,
like if you wanted like super long panoramic, you couldn't do it.
I don't know that. I don't see a place where I can do that. Visual intensity or widescreen aspect ratio. Yeah, you think there'd be one here that would give you a place to type it in. So maybe not. It's golden hour, backlighting and composition. So shot from below, wide angle, let's say, yeah. Let's go with shot from below. Is there a low angle? So that's the other thing in Mid Journey, you can actually type in things like this that are Let's go with shallow depth of field. I guess you can't put in multiples from here. Shallow depth of field, shot from below. Yeah, you can only pick one there. That's interesting. Shot from below. Photo settings says auto. So you can choose an aperture, 5.6. So since I got bokeh in there, let's go with a 1.4. Shutter speed. Fastest you can go is 2,000th of a second. Field of view, 50 millimeter. Advanced settings. So you have to type. You can type in. So let's see what the info thing says. Add up to 10 words or phrases that you want Firefly to avoid. So these are sort of the don't includes. So I could also still add to the prompt here. Another thought too is you could take all of these sort of factors that we've added in at the bottom here, and you could also use those back inside Photoshop. So you could add to your prompt: bear running in a stream, photorealistic, bokeh effect, hyper realistic, golden hour, backlighting, shot from below. So you could do that inside Photoshop too, and end up with some of the same similarities to it. So now we'll regenerate with all those new things added to it. We get a wider format, and then all those other things that are there should definitely affect the outcome of the image. So there it is. So there's the bokehs in the background, the golden hour, the low angle, the wide angle shot. That's it. So rate the result, and then this is more options: edit, generative fill, show similar. Interesting weird pattern inside some of these areas. Report, rate the result. Where's their download on this thing? Does anybody use this very much? Edit. I don't even know where they put their upload, download. More options. There it is. So under the more options, there's the download. So you can download that to your computer if you want to save it. Okay, so that's free if you're already subscribed to Photoshop. Since nobody is using Midjourney, I won't go through any of that, but Midjourney just updated again, so they're on version 6. And so one of the cool things they've actually added to Midjourney, and I suspect that everything else may tend to also follow that, is that 1028 is kind of the maximum width on any of these images. So if you were to save it, it'll tell you that dimension. But inside Midjourney now, in version 6, they've already added their own upscaler to this thing. So here's some images I worked on earlier today. So here's a square image. By default, it does a 1-to-1. And so so here it is here. So there's an upscale 2 times or upscale 4 times. So you can get a higher resolution image straight out of Midjourney. And again, most of the time, to get something large that you would want to maybe print from, you can run it through Gigapixel or some other programs that do image resizing. So yeah, that's some new things. And already with Midjourney, we're talking might be 2 years old, or maybe not even 2 years old right now. But they're already on version 6, so just getting better. All right. All right, so let me get back to my guy here, and let me find my CAS. All right, so here's the CAS videos. Let's see, do I want to... Let me open a video player.
Can you start with the one of the photo that Larry shot of me? I mean, not Larry, of Kurt.
Okay, wait a minute. So let me downsize this. All right, so let me get
Because I'll
back.
give you my thought process.
All right, so
Should be an MP4 titled AI Junk.
I see the email here. Here's a
It
little
would have been
AI
that.
of Kurt's image of me. Question is, there it is there. Download and download to there.
So this was basically an image of that Kurt Lightfoot shot of me, and I just ran it through a stable diffusion AI video thing, and you can see it. It took a normal picture and got really weird. There's the normal picture. As you run it, you can see weird things going on with my eyes. Interesting how it made my whole body jump out. Made me look better looking.
And so what did you run this through?
A stable diffusion video thing that I found, and to tell you the truth, I don't even know where it is now. I'll have to go back and try to find it again.
Wow.
I really wasn't all that impressed with this, but as I saw this, I said, well, most of this AI video stuff really has a surreal sort of flavor to it. So I said, well, I bet if I did it on one of my images that already looks rather surreal, it might be more interesting. So that's why I shot that video. I shot a photo of a girl in water, a time exposure, where I ran a 4-inch fluorescent light behind her in a pond, a large pond. And that's what I started with on those other images.
Okay.
And then I just ran it through. So on this thing here, the stable diffusion only gave you about 4 seconds or maybe 2 seconds. I didn't time it, but not very much. This particular thing here with Larry's picture of me
Kurt.
is a series of probably 4 of those things, and I just stuck them all together. And
I was going to ask you that. So they started out as 4 still shots, and then it merged it all together.
There you go. No, one still shot, 4 different versions of AI, and then I put it in the Final Cut Pro, and then just concatenated them all together, and then gave you this video.
Which is pretty incredible if you think about it's actually turning your image from the side to the front.
Yeah, it's doing some really interesting things.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, and it's having you step up from behind your image.
Yeah,
That's really
I was
interesting.
that too. It did that weird little step forward. Right there.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
So it kind of go back there. So it kind of revealed information that wasn't there. Your shoulder, right? So that shoulder's all completely missing, right there.
And it added it. Yeah.
And that's part of, again, sort of that nature of AI. The thing that I had heard that I thought was really most interesting is the idea that it's kind of using the same thought process as, like when you're typing a message on your computer, on your phone, and it's doing a predictive, predicting the next word. And it's getting, the predictive word element is getting so good that I've just I'll start a sentence sometimes and just go, Yep. Just keep adding the predictive word, and it will build almost the whole sentence for you. And so the idea behind the predictive element here of AI is predicting the sort of next, idea for a pixel. So what's the next pixel that would be added to the edge of this person to create what would be that information that's behind the frame back there. And I mean, that's pretty incredible when you think about, I mean, even though it's not like high detail here at this point, but you think about where a lot of our stuff began digitally anyhow. And I mean, if you look at, if you used Mid Journey from the very beginning, it was pretty rudimentary when you think about. I mean, it couldn't even do the right number of fingers on an image. So, all right. So then back to the top up here in this folder, we've got. So is there any particular order to these, or does it matter?
Not really. Yeah. Start with that one. Why not? Because that's the most interesting one
Okay.
as well. That first one, I think, because it can tell the sex. Because it actually rotates the girl, and you can actually see her breasts right there.
So this is 4 seconds. It says, yeah. So describe the
Yeah.
original image to start with.
The thing that you see at the very beginning,
Oh, really?
that's the original image. Yeah.
So it's just
and it's just a still that I shot.
that looks like that.
That right there.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
And then
that's what I started.
And then it animated the still shot
That's right.
to do all that. Oh.
Yeah. And it rotated her.
And it's interesting
Kinda.
too that it even put in sort of like a handheld video camera feeling to the rest of the image too, where the trees are and the background's kind of moving.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, and look at this truck in the background or whatever that is. Watch the truck. It actually moves.
Yeah, it's moving.
It's
yeah.
funny.
And I don't even know that that's a truck.
Yeah.
Because actually, to tell you the truth, there is nothing back there. There is no road back there.
Right.
That's all field. I know it's all field. There's no vehicle back
Yeah.
there.
So there's something
But
there,
it added
that
that.
white spot. So that white spot's in your original, and it just said, "Oh, that looks like a truck." So let's animate the truck too. Oh, that's funny.
Yes, how did you light the original image?
How did I light it?
Yeah.
Yeah, how did you
Yeah.
light the character? How did you throw that light around her?
That's it's a time exposure about I don't know, probably 2 or 3 minutes.
Wow.
And I used a handheld 4-inch fluorescent bulb with a theatrical gel. An orange-colored theatrical filter, and wrapped it around the fluorescent bulb. And it's just a little 4-inch handheld battery-operated fluorescent. And I just waved it behind her. I'm out in the water with her.
As any
got it.
good-spirited photographer should.
Now, what's really interesting about this picture that I just found out about it, I posted this on Facebook, but that green color, it was just so weird because it should be blue. Anytime you do a time exposure at night, you get a blue sky, but that's actually a aurora borealis
Uh-huh.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
That just happened to be happening that night, and I didn't know for 40 years.
Really?
Until I just read about it about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks ago, I read about it. That green, if you saturate a time exposure during one of these episodes, it gives you a green
Wow.
sky.
Wow.
So
All right. Let's see this next
So
one.
there's, I think, 4 or 5 of these, and so it did different versions each time.
Uh-huh. So each one was a different result.
Same image.
Yeah. Wow. Now see that one, it didn't animate the faux truck back. Just stayed stationary. Actually, the movement on this one's pretty. The arms are moving. In a way. They kind of disappear and come back. Wow. All right, let's see this one then.
Pretty cool, Kaz.
Whoa,
like the
look at
way you
that.
started with painting. That's really cool.
Separated. Wow.
Yeah, it just took off.
Is that the longest that it will animate?
Yeah, it only animated for like 4 seconds. Now, this actually these images are from I did a electronic music composition in 1983, and these images are from this one image is from that series that was shot back in 1983. And if you want to see the whole thing with the electronic music, just go to YouTube, type in my name and Biomorpheus, 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 in YouTube, and with my name, and the whole thing will come up.
Wow, look at the
And
motion
I was
on that
thinking
one.
about going and reanimating that electronic music piece
Putting this in.
and putting in this stuff
Yeah.
in.
Look at
Yeah.
this one. The girl disappears completely, but wow. It's like the whole thing almost completely disappears, like whoosh. Wow. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to take and put these all together as video sequences and edit them so that they actually kind of like make up 16 seconds or whatever of motion.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about there. But it would take a lot of time because the piece is like 7 minutes long. So I'd be doing a lot of them to fill in 7 minutes worth.
Jeez, that one is cool. That would be the last one that you would use at the very end.
Yep.
Very cool. Any comments from anybody for Kaz? Any ideas?
Yeah, I call it "Girl on Fire."
Yeah.
You put
Yeah, that was kind of the original idea.
And poof, she's gone.
Yeah, and then to the last one,
Add some smoke.
to this one.
Yeah. That's cool.
Gone. Wow, that's pretty cool. So
Yeah,
again,
need sound effect.
the computations that it takes, to do this, that's pretty amazing for free. Anyhow, to get at least 4 seconds of animation for free. All right, and then RPAD. All right, let me get to these and download that to there, save, and download that to there. Thanks, Kaz. That's cool.
Sure.
All right, what are we looking at here, Arpad? These are your encaustic pieces?
Yeah, but I've done something different on this one. This is a photograph of a stormy sunset that got manipulated, and then I did the encaustic wax on top of it, and then I added resin on top of the
Wow.
encaustic
Wow.
wax.
Did the resin separate out on top of the wax, or did it actually form a whole layer?
No, it formed a whole layer, solid as a rock.
Wow.
And as I was experimenting with another piece, it took the hair dryer to it,
Yeah.
and it totally separated the resin from the wax.
From the wax.
Which is the weird. But if you don't touch it, I guess, I hope,
Yeah, it should harden.
it'll should stay that way for a while.
Yeah.
It really just makes things pop because the wax texture comes through now through the resin more than without the resin.
Wow. And this is the one that was in the show. I remember this one.
No, this was not.
Oh, it
I just
wasn't.
did this one.
Oh, okay. Did the other one have poppies in it?
No, this was the one that was in the show, a bigger version of
Okay,
this.
that's what I thought. This one here, yeah. Not the
Yeah.
other one. Yeah.
This is just straight wax, no resin on it.
And then on the image itself, you used a filter to make it painterly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I manipulate the heck out of it to get it to look the way I want
Mhm.
it. And when it looks kind of right, then I put it down and put the wax on top of it. But anytime you put wax over a photograph, it just makes it disappear.
Uh huh.
It kind of dulls it out.
Right.
So then you have to add back pigment through like what do you call it? Oil pastels,
Mm-hmm.
and fuse that into the wax to get like a three-dimensional look to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Any?
I have a feeling these photos don't do no justice to these pieces.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem when you do things that are very sort of textural and surface, qualities and all that, and then try to photograph it. It's pretty hard to convey that same aspect that you had in the original image. Which
Yeah.
is a common complaint of a lot of painters, who do those kinds of things where the surface and all that is such a big part of the painting, and then to try to show it in a photograph.
Well, you know what's ironic? Maybe everybody else could try this. By accident, I found a little nook in my kitchen between the cabinets, with its two sides
Mm-hmm.
are dark, and then the ceiling. And if I stuck this first one in there, it got rid of all the reflections.
Huh.
And it's like, I said, "Whoa, this is the ticket."
Well, there's
Because you always get reflections of you, the photographer, the window, the blah blah blah.
right. So the
And lucked out.
the technique for copying reflective art is you put two lights, one on left and right side of it, and you put polarizing gels on the lights at the same angle, so they're both, and then you put a polarizer on your camera, so it's like a cross polarizing, and it will eliminate all the glare off the surface of the piece. In some ways, you would end up even with less of a feeling, like in here where you can see some of the wax and stuff. Some of those things start to become almost more translucent because sometimes it's the reflective qualities that make those things look more have that translucency to it. So sometimes when you use that polarizing effect on things, you lose the feeling of the painting or the texture because there's no shadows or anything either, because you're lighting it from two sides and then polarizing it. But definitely is the way to copy reflective artwork.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's everything that I have. So the thing that I mentioned at the beginning, I think what I'm going to do when I get the video together, I will put out sort of a descriptive thing about coming up with sort of a topic or an idea. Like it's really strange. Like if I go, I'll just show you. I'll jump back here to Midjourney. If you, so there's a couple of ways to set up. Discord is where you put Midjourney into. So I have mine set up. So I have sort of a what looks like a private space. But generally, if you don't set up a space for that, when you're working in Midjourney, you're working in one of these spaces here. There's like 20 general rooms in here. So if I pick a room, there's people in here working right now, and I can see their work. I can read their prompts. I could steal their images if I want to. So here's a guy that is upscaling these flower images that he's created. So his prompt is oil painting in bold expressive colors, daring colors, loose and bold brushstrokes, stem of a pink rose, painting in the style of Pierre Bonnard, palette knife, heavy textured brush strokes, aspect ratio 9:16, and he's using the newest version 6.0. So it's an interesting thing in here as you kind of journey through these rooms. You get a sense of what people are working on. Cover of science fiction novel, space station, bar, huge window, large stunning planet. And there's a view of it. If I go to the browser, it'll be even bigger. So there's an example of what he's getting from those prompts. But the most interesting part of this thing too is this idea about, what are other people looking to create? Here's a scene. So when you see this where there's a link here, this means that he put in an image. Let's see if it'll actually take me to the image. So he used this image. Looks like a painting of somebody that I don't know where he got the painting from, just off the internet. So you put that image in, and then also added a prompt to it. Wide angle view of Cain, so it's supposed to be a biblical reference. Wide angle of Cain and his brother Abel with a rock in a field, natural light in the style of epic fantasy scenes, and endurance art, aspect ratio 9:16, version 6.0. So this is what was generated, and so it's combining that first image together with his prompt. This isn't even some of the wacky things that I normally see in here. Oh, there you go. There's a beautiful, beautiful AI car. Almost brutalist house, whatever that means. Ultra modern luxury house, one level, luxury front yard, Aston Martin inside garage, didn't quite get that. Sunset, modern, expensive finishes, 8K, 16:9. But anyhow, it's interesting. Like when you're thinking of ideas, you can come in here and see what other people are prompting in here. There's a Batman and Robin image. So what's interesting now too is here's an example of what version 6, and you would think this would have been simple for Midjourney to pull off, but before you could not get it to create text. It would make gibber letters out of anything, and so he's probably using the new version 6. Yeah. And so HD wallpaper of Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker with large bold graphic text that fits the Star Wars theme that spells happy birthday Gimpy. So he even got the weird word, whatever that means, in the style of bold and graphic composition, mosaic like. So before, you could not get it to actually put in this happy birthday, which you think would be a simple thing for a AI to pull off, but only until now were they able to get it to actually create good image text. And so now you could create like a perfume bottle and tell it what label you want to put on there. Like right here, somebody just did it. So here's one here, sending you a hug in a jar, XOXOXO. So again, they probably doesn't show as prompt, but that would not have been possible before. I don't know if this has any words on it. Yeah, so this is the kind of stuff you would normally get with the old version. It would just make up jibber jabber. Same thing here. So he's not using the newest version on that. Okay, here's probably a so here's what somebody's thinking about. Terrifying head, rubber taffy portrait, stretched tongue, covered in toes, painted by Christian Rex Van Minnen in a mutant slick jelly tube man, disfigured, bulbous tumor, many growths, Dutch golden age, cheer Corsero. So if you could come up with a prompt like that. The ones that you sent in a long time ago, Kaz, the lyrics from oops, you're muted. What was the song?
In the Court of the Crimson King.
In the Court of the Crimson King. Those were beautiful. I mean, just using lines from the song, it created some beautiful images. So anyhow, this idea of trying to come up. So what do you want to tell it to create can be really interesting. So here's variations on what he's been doing. Same idea. Bizarre. All right, so I will we'll wrap this part of it up. So I will put out sort of an email with a link to tonight's video, and then also a little description about an idea. And I think what I'll do is I'll ask if people want to send me ideas, then I'll pick one of those and send it out to the group and say by what is our next meeting? January, into the month, last Thursday, so the 25th. So by January 25th, I'll get enough submissions, and hopefully I'll send it out to everyone, and be interesting to see what's created. So again, whether you want to do a straight prompt inside of a program, or you want to use a prompt and combine it together with your own photographs or anything like that, I think that would be an interesting thing to share, the results. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get a few more people to participate. And also, as usual, I'm open to ideas about what we want the this AI meeting to do. What do we want to do? What do we want to achieve? If you want to learn more about Photoshop AI functioning, building images within Photoshop using AI, or even the idea of using the retouching tools, if there's some interesting techniques, we can go through some of those. It's wide open as far as I'm concerned. We can do anything. So, all right. I appreciate everybody jumping in tonight and sharing the few things that we got, and the discussion as usual on what is it we are creating. Are they photographs? Are they art? Are they whatever? Are they synthetic photographs?
I think I like the mixed technologies.
Yeah.
Or mixed tech.
Mixed tech, like mixed media, mixed tech.
Yeah, mixed tech.
I always thought mixed media sounds like more television. Sounds like media.
Yeah.
Metro media.
Confused television.
Technology. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't pull up that. Let me see. Oh, I had it here. So this was a lot. This is the prospectus I'm working on for the show, and some of the stuff that was written by ChatGPT. So 2020 Gallery is thrilled to announce a remarkable opportunity for photographers and AI artists who create photo-based art and AI-generated art for this innovative and thought-provoking juried exhibition. This unique showcase will challenge preconceived notions about artistic creation, inviting both artists and viewers to contemplate the intersection of human ingenuity and machine intelligence. AI OK, The Lens versus the Machine, A Dialogue in Pixels, aims to bridge the gap between camera-created photographs and AI-generated works, sparking a conversation about the evolving nature of visual storytelling. This exhibition invites artists to submit their most compelling pieces, whether captured through the lens or crafted by algorithms, to examine the evolving relationship between technology and artistic expression. So yeah, that's kind of a interesting.
Shit, I thought you wrote
I
that.
know, right? We wwere talking about this the other day about all of the creating images and creating text and all this stuff that all it's really starting to do is raise doubts about how good you are as a writer, a creator, an artist, or whatever. It's like, well, did you do it or did the machine do it? It was the same thing we heard, like between going analog to digital. You're like, is this photoshopped? You go, well, yeah, I worked on it in photo. Oh, okay, yeah. So that was the answer to everything. It's like, oh yeah, no wonder it's been created in Photoshop.
The weird thing about machine generated language is it almost sounds like the artist statements that you read on the wall.
Yeah.
Which is just gobbledygook.
Gabba,
Anyway,
yeah.
my work transcends the boundaries of the essence of being. It's a metaphorical and homogeneous effort to
juxtapose. Yeah.
Larry, can you show the chat what the chat wrote for you again?
It's right there. Yeah. In the forest.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
This one.
The other selection.
prospectus.
Yeah.
On the prospectus. Oh, she wants to get a photocopy. It may change.
Right. All your choices.
It may change before we get there. So let's see, where did it go? Oh, here it is. Here. So there's one more. There's one more page after that. But basically, everything through the rest of this is the dates haven't been all finalized, but most of this is all just repeated. Only this first part in here is what's new from show to show. I didn't hear your thing go. Screen capture.
I did it. I was
A
fast.
silent screen capture. All right, so we will wrap this up here, and where's my? Wow, there we are. All right, I always got to get up my last goodbye. All right, so thanks everybody for jumping in. Thanks Kaz, thanks RPAD for sharing some images, and enjoyed everybody's comments. Like I said, the video will be posted. If there's anything you want to revisit and go, hey, wait a minute, how did you do that inside Photoshop with what? They'll be posted on my website probably tomorrow afternoon. All right, so and if you're interested, look up the other meetup group. DPX will be on the second Thursday, which will be January 11th, and that's a real critique night. So if you want to send in 2 or 3 of your photographs, have it open for critique and discussion with the group. That's a great place to do that. All right, so until then, thanks a lot, everybody. Good night.
Happy New Year.
Thanks,
All right,
Frank.
yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right. All right, everybody, thanks for coming to DPX-AI tonight. And until we see each other next month, stay creative, be inspired, and be an inspiration to others.